Hello, this is Gordonderp and I'm going to do a performance review of the Nike Zoom Kobe 6. First I'm going to do a little background of the shoe myself. I'm 5'7" and I weigh 132 pounds or 60 kilos if in the metric system. This is the Nike Zoom Kobe 6. This is a six signature shoe from Kobe with Nike, discounting the Nike Huarache 2K4s. This weighs 10.2 ounces in size 9 and released in the summer of 2010. First off, we're going to start with the traction. As you can see here, these has been used outdoors multiple times, around 3 or 4 times. But mostly I've used these indoors. As you can see from playing outdoors, it's it's just made the traction a little, it's just destroyed them. It's made it a lot flat. It usually look like this. It's a little more thin, but from cutting like that and stopping and just generally playing in these shoes, it's just made it a lot more flat. Yeah, but it hasn't really affected it. I'm surprised compared to my Nike Zoom Hyperfuse, which has nothing anymore and I can't use them anymore. It's still doing pretty good. I just hope the traction will last long enough for a whole season or so. As you can see from cutting here, you can see the traction is wearing a bit off in these areas. So basically this shoe has the reptilian scale traction. Thank God they got rid of the heartbeat traction that was in Kobe 5s. That was absolutely terrible. I borrowed the shoe from my friends just to see them, and I kept slipping everywhere indoors, from cutting into towards the basket, or just coming off screens. Because every time I do this, sometimes it just, imagine this was the Kobe 5. Every time I do this, it just goes like that, further away, and usually I'd either go towards my defender, or when I take for a jump shot, because of this, sometimes I lose the ball, and of course that leads to turnovers, in which you don't want. So for the traction, it's a lot more better, but it's still not that great. It's up to standard with most shoes, but it could be better. Instead of this, they could have just went for the herringbone traction, like what they did with the Kobe 4s or the other shoes, basically, or most shoes, or most Nike shoes, and it would just make this shoe a lot more better. And they have the outrigger here, and it's just, it's not really much of an outrigger. Usually outriggers have lines over there, like in the Nike Hyperfuse. As you can see, it has the lines over there, so when you slide, when you cut, that would usually stop your foot from running or slipping off. But I found this has worked a lot much better than the Hyperfuse. I think simply because, oh sorry, I got a cold. Simply because that the traction over here is a continuation of the original traction over here, as opposed to the Nike's Hyperfuse was just a few lines, which in my opinion weren't deep enough and were too shallow for it to actually do anything. But these are nice and thick, and they do their job well. They do their job well. And yes, you can see the outrigger here. And now we move on to the cushioning. With the Nike Zoom Kobe 6, like in its name, it has the Zoom airbags in the heel and in the forefoot. As you can see here, the slight bulge in the heel. Right there is where right here, you can see the slight bulge is where the airbag is. And you have a Phylon injected midsole here. And for the as I said previously, the forefoot Zoom bag the Zoom bag in the forefoot is a matte airbag, which means that it's not a full 4-foot zoom bag where it covers the whole of the 4-foot, which is the area on the foot which is below the toes, and it only is in the met area where it is under the large toe. That is the only part of the shoe which has cushioning, and many people have complained about that. They want a full. So many many players have asked for a full 4-foot zoom bag from Nike. But Kobe, since this is his Nike signature shoe, and he wants it to his exact specifications for his playstyle, he wants only a matte airbag, and it will remain a matte airbag as long as Kobe wants to wear it, or when Nike says no, which I doubt, or when Kobe wants to give back to his fans, which I don't really think that's going to happen. So anyway, you've got I'm going to show you where it is. Basically on the outsole, it's around here. Usually it would be around there, like in a triangular kind of shape, or curved triangle, and you would have it, but instead you just have it like a oval over here, and you have an airbag in the heel over here, as I showed you before. And for the midsole, you have a nice Phylon injected midsole over here. It says Nike Zoom here, and you have it here. You can see I hope you can see the creases in the shoe right here and over here, a few over there, and I think there's a large one over here, or right there, and that's just a cut from tripping over. And there, you can see it. It's taken in the impact grip. Well, my only complaint about it is, the airbag. That's my only complaint about the cushioning on the shoe. Phylon midsole does its job. Heel airbag is perfect in my opinion. I hope they put this in every shoe. I really liked it. But the matte airbag is just the only thing that I do not like. The first few wears of this, I had blisters on the area of my area of the 4-foot that didn't have the air zoom bag, and after a few wears, of course, the skin hardened up. But during those first few wears, it really did hurt, and I just really hope Kobe changes his mind. Pray to God, whatever, that he has a full foot airport zoom bag in the next shoe, which is the Kobe 7s, and which I've seen photos of, and actually they do have them, which is really, really, really good. I'm really excited for that. And also, for an insole, you're gonna get the Nike, specially made insole, which molds to your foot. You can see the reptilian scales over there. I don't know whether or not that was intentional, or it was just made like that during the manufacturing process. Just some lint from my socks. And I really actually do think these mold to your foot better than these have molded to my foot. This is the Nike Hyperfuse. I don't know whether it's some sort of what do you call it? Like maybe it's psychological or something, but I do feel like it's slightly better. Maybe because it's thicker compared to Nike Hyperfuse. The thinness of this is, yeah, it's pretty thin, and I have a gigantic foot, so it might be that. But I do feel like it molded my arch a lot better. It did mold my heel a lot better than the Nike Hyperfuse, and basically I did feel a lot better. People have been saying it didn't really do anything, but for me, I did really see some differences. I couldn't really feel it. Actually, I could feel it in the arch maybe, but not here on the heel. So yeah, I think they just would have saved themselves some money, just gone with a normal insole. But Kobe wants, being the egocentric person he is, he wanted a specially designed insole for him, and they gave him this, and it's perfectly fine. If he wants it, it's good for him. Yeah, and now we're going to move on to the upper. For the upper, what you're going to get is a 3-layer upper all along over here. It's a very thin upper compared to standard leather shoes. It's not as thin as the Kobe 5s with the super thin skin wire, or the Hyperdunks, which were too thin. But I think these are thin as you can possibly get without it breaking as of now. Maybe they invent something new in the future and that'd be pretty great. And basically what you have on top is the controversial, slightly, scales. The polyurethane scales you can see all around the shoe on the upper. And many sneakerheads and whatnot have said, "Oh damn, that shoe be ugly," because of these scales. And for me, I don't really, it's alright. I don't really hate it. I don't really like it as well. But I've seen the Duke colorway of the shoe. This is the Del Sol number 2 colorway with the grey upper, not the Del Sol 1, which is the black with the yellow swoosh. And well, the Duke colorway, they have blue scales on top of a black upper. Well, under the blue scales, the mesh was black, and it looked fantastic. Or the Nike Zoom Kobe 6 All-Star West colorway, I really like that as well. And they really used it in great effect with the scales, and I really like that. So, well, it's actually, besides design purposes, with Kobe's Black Mamba nickname, he also, well, the scales are also used for strengthening the upper, because without this it'd probably rip apart like the Hyperdunk 2011. Anyway, moving on, we have the Flywire 2.0 skin wire around the upper, and what Flywire does is strengthen the areas well, you can see there, strengthen the areas which need support when you're cutting like that, and it does its job. And under that you have a mesh. I don't know whether or not you could see it. It's really small. I don't think you can see it, but if you do see it in real life, you can probably see what I mean, what I'm talking about. And what the upper is, the upper, it allows for great ventilation. I really like the breathability and ventilation of the shoe. Not as good as the Hyperfuse, but I don't think I want a shoe that is greater than the Hyperfuse. So anyway, we're gonna move on to the sorry about that. We're gonna move on to the fit and lockdown. For the fit, it runs true to size. It's true to size. This is a size 10, and I wear size 9.5. Actually, I usually just wear a size 10 since I have wide feet. Yeah, if you have wide feet, go half a size up. Thin feet, I don't know, maybe half a size down. I've never encountered that before. So anyway, just go true to size, unless you have wide feet. And what the lockdown of the shoe is great. Well, most of it's great anyway. The mid-foot lockdown is absolutely fantastic. I loved it. My Hyperfuse shoes and some other shoes that I've worn, the mid-foot lockdown was standard, but it could be improved for the other shoes. But this shoe is perfect. This is, I think, the best part about the shoe, the mid-foot lockdown, and the lockdown in these parts of the area of the foot. And the worst part about the shoe, and it's really quite bad, is the ankle lockdown. As you can see here, the reason why, this goddamn heel cut. I don't know what they were thinking when they didn't go with the shark tooth, well, that's what I call shark tooth heel cup that they had in Nike Zoom 5. I don't know what they were smoking, but instead of going with that one, they went with this, and the results, the consequences of that, I played many games and my foot had just slipped out. You can even see there was a highlight of Kobe slipping out of his shoes and he had to call a timeout, and he also failed to catch the shoe once he threw it. But continuing on what I said, even with all this thick padding, which I believe is absolutely useless, it still slips out of my foot, and unless you zip these up to the top, if you zip well, even if you zip these up on the top, most of the times which my heel slipped out of was I lace these on the top. If you zip it like right here where most of the photos show, it would be even worse, I believe. And that's probably the worst part about this shoe. The ankle lockdown, midfoot lockdown is great. The forefoot lockdown is great. The ankle lockdown is just it's just so unfortunate, because if this ankle lockdown was perfect, this probably would have been my shoe of the year. And this just it's so unfortunate. So anyway, I'm gonna be moving up. I'm gonna be doing an overview and my summarization of the shoe. So in summary of the shoe, the pros of this shoe are the midfoot lockdown. It's very nice. It's supportive, but not too supportive where it becomes a brick wall, and not too loose where it becomes a danger to your foot where you could injure and roll your ankle. The cushioning for me was could be improved in the next installment of the Zoom Kobe series. Instead of the Met bag, I'd like a full 4-foot Zoom bag, but I doubt that we're going to get that unless Kobe changes his mind. And I like the traction with this shoe. It's still not as good as the Kobe 4s, but I can forgive them. It's better than the Kobe 5s at least, but it still could be improved. Maybe even close to being as close to the Zoom Kobe 4. I hope they can get to as close to as possible with that. And please, Kobe's design, his design demands. The breathability and ventilation of the shoe was fantastic. Not as good as the Hyperfuses, of course, which is a really high benchmark. Those things had holes in them, so that's probably why they had good ventilation. But this shoe, still compared with other shoes, still has pretty good ventilation. The cons about this shoe: the Met airbag instead of the 4-foot, full 4-foot Zoom airbag. Of course, it gave me blisters on the part of my forefoot where it wasn't cushioned, which was bad. It really hurt. And of course, the lack of heel lockdown right here, where my heel has slipped off. So to counteract that, I've tied my laces all the way to the top, but it still happened from occasion. Here and there, not as much as it used to. So in summary, this shoe is a fantastic shoe meant for guards, maybe small forwards if you're really light, or if you're on your foot, or you play like Kobe. And I don't think it's for big men. I don't imagine somebody like Dwight Howard playing in these shoes. One, because his feet would probably blow up from the lack of impact protection for big men in this shoe, and I think he'd probably roll his ankle in these since he has gigantic feet, and he needs extra ankle protection to allow him to not roll his feet. So overall, I give this an 8.5. 1 mark off for the lack of ankle lockdown, and half a mark off for the mesh airbag. I hope you enjoyed this review of the Nike Zoom Kobe 6. Have a nice day and keep balling.